Hey, this is Jared Kraus, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I'm speaking with Jeff, who is a member of the Buying Online Business community, about how he bought his first website business. And within 6 months of working, I bought that first website business and went from zero to 2,400 per month. Actually, just recently speaking to him, he's just hit his first month of $3,000 per month, which is absolutely excellent. And congratulations to you, Jeff. Now, in this episode, Jeff and I talk about like where he was when he first started and you know what happened when he first joined the Buying Online community and what he started learning and what his favorite parts about being a part of the community were and some of the big highlights that he took away from his experience buying his first website business. So if you're looking at buying your first website business and you want to hear from somebody who has just been through that process and learned so much that you need to know all these little hidden details and things that happen behind the scenes when you buy your first business, make sure you tune into this episode because there's so many great things that we do highlight that's going to be valuable for you to understand and know on your journey to buying your first website business as well. Now, before we get stuck into this episode, I want to let you know that this podcast is not the only way that I can help you for free. Like Jeff and so many other people that I work with, I'm giving away my due diligence framework 2.0 version, which everybody's been raving about. So many great questions about, you know, what you need to know throughout due diligence, questions, how to buy the site, questions you need to be asking the seller. And you can go away and get that on my website at buyingonlinebusiness.com/free resources. So get that free due diligence framework. Now, let's jump into the episode. Hey, Jeff, welcome and thank you for jumping on having a chat. And also a massive congratulations for buying your first site.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know it's a pretty exciting time. It's been really busy, but I mean, I said it offline to you. There's no way I could have done it without your help and your community, you know? So
yeah, you're so welcome. I remember your message and I was like, I want to have a chat to you to see, you know, a little bit more about your process. Most of the migrations happen now, right? It's completed. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So I have control, like all the affiliate accounts. It's an affiliate site. And yeah, it's in the inspection period now. It goes for 8 more days. So I can see the accounts, I can see the money trickling in. And so far, so good. Like nothing seems misrepresented from the P&L statement during the due diligence and the actual dough coming into the account. So yeah, it's been awesome so far.
How is the feeling knowing that you've bought something and it's a website business and there's money coming into your account as soon as, you know, you change things over? How does that feel? Like...
I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like the first day I got control of that affiliate account, I saw that money coming and it almost brought me to tears. It's so exciting and it's so rewarding to make money in a passive way and to, you know, sort of formulate a plan through your course. And really, really cool. And just the excitement, the prospect of actually creating that freedom and it becomes realistic. It becomes real. You can sort of feel it, taste it when it starts happening. So really cool. Oh, I was going to say hard to describe, kind of surreal and just really, really cool. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's cheesy at all because when I bought my first site, well, actually just before I bought my first site, I saw this space and my eyes just went like this. And I just went, all right, this is it. And when I bought my first one, it really concreted the idea of like, all right, I'm in this for the long haul here. Like I'm going to buy sites and this is going to be my way out of the rat race because we fight so freaking hard with our regular day-to-day job, work and stuff like that. Then something so simple, like, I don't know how long you've been in the community. We'll talk about that in a second, but something so simple comes along and you can see like, this is easy. Well, it's not easy. Sorry. It's simple, so much simpler than what I'm doing. And it has the ability to earn me so much more money without me doing so much less work. For me, I'm just like, what the hell? Like, so how long ago did you join?
I joined the community, it was November 2019. And it was a little bit slow getting going with the course. I think it's like anything, you got to put some time in to actually get momentum with it. And then once I got into it and then started looking at businesses for real, I just started learning tons. And the more I learned, the more interested I got. And now, I mean, I'm addicted to Ahrefs tutorials. It's just lots of geeking out the last sort of month and a bit. So
cool. That's good. So what's that? November, and we're recording in May. So it's about 6 months since you joined. Bit of a slow start just because you weren't getting into the content. But the thing is that I find is really good and what you've done is that sometimes people go hard on the content as soon as they join. and they learn all this theory. They don't put any of it into action. And then they end up dropping the ball and not getting around to doing what you've done, is like rolling up your sleeves, contacting brokers, speaking to sellers, and looking at sites. Because I remember we'd looked at another site prior to this. And did we look at another site prior to this one?
We did, yeah. Good thing. I just wanted to thank you. I mean, because as we were going through the due diligence, I was thinking to myself, like, oh shit, how long is it going to take Jared to get back to me here? Like, I need to give the broker an answer. And like the support you gave me was just fantastic. I mean, less than 24 hours every time I had a question for you or something. So we went through the one site. It had some PBNs associated with it. I didn't feel completely comfortable, and you were good. You sort of didn't sway me one way or the other, but you gave me great advice, and I swayed on it. So
the important thing that I find in a buyer's journey is to not squash the growth of somebody and just tell them what to do or what not to do. Like when a lot of people send me reviews, so they'll send me their due diligence to review. And like you said, I try always my best to get it done as soon as I can, because I know that people are on a time schedule. But the thing is, sometimes they're not the greatest business, and I could just snap it off and say, hey, don't worry, don't buy this one. Don't even bother wasting any time. But I like to ask them questions that lead them to see the whole picture and understand why the investment's not so good. So then the next time they look at another business, that they don't go away and look at a similar type of business. They can see they've learned that thing for themselves, because I've learned it in here rather than me just verbally telling them. Does that make sense?
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. As a teacher, I think it's fantastic. It's like, teach someone how to have fish. Don't just give them fish. That was the thing that on the business that I actually bought, perspective on it after doing the due diligence with you on the first one. Whereas if you just told me, don't buy it, run from this thing, I wouldn't have learned anything, or I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn to be confident with the next one. So
yeah,
I can't believe how the learning all sort of pieced together once I started talking to brokers and looking at sites in the real world.
Yeah, isn't it funny that you can learn so much theory, and then once you start rolling up your sleeves, like I said, and you start taking action, like you've learned all the theory, it's in the back of your mind, and you just lean on that naturally. You just naturally go to it. Then more learning happens from there. The action is a key component, isn't it?
It was pretty cool for sure. And I remember you had a guest on one of your podcasts. I can't remember his name, but one thing that really stuck with me is he said, don't worry about, 10 steps down the road. Worry about your one next step. And that was amazing. And my one next step was simply like start talking to brokers, start looking at businesses. It was really cool. We get so tripped up looking 10 steps down the road and get overwhelmed, So
yeah. Yeah, it's what Tim Ferriss says. He calls it paralysis by analysis, when we've got so many things we need to analyze and do, and we just get confused. And
right,
we're all human beings. Like, we're not as smart as computers. And I don't know if we're ever going to be, because computers are so rapid speed. We need to just make it easier for ourselves, really. Yeah, sure. Man. So was there any, like when you first saw my stuff, and I want you to be fully honest here, like a lot of people might see my stuff and like, this dude's a bit of a joke, don't want to deal with him. Or like when you first saw my stuff or saw the community, did you have any fears or worries like before joining? Did you think maybe this isn't going to work for me or anything like that? Or what were those sort of fears that you did have?
I don't know, maybe you have a trustworthy face or a trustworthy voice, but I was pretty confident in you from day one. I think largely because of your podcast, but it just didn't seem realistic. Like it seemed almost too good to be true. It seemed like pie in the sky. Like there's no way that you can get these kind of returns. There's no way this can actually be real. It's got to be a get rich quick scheme. That you worked with. It just became clear that yeah, you were the real deal. So never that big of a jump for me.
Yeah, cool. I think the hardest job for me is to take people away from listening to me and to get them to just, like, the best thing for them is to be so skeptical enough that they do go to the brokers and they see right. It's not Jared talking about you can make all this money. Go to like multiple different brokers and you can see the proof is in the pudding already there. So if you're listening to this, go away and look at that stuff. And if you haven't checked it out, bloody hell, just do yourself a favor here.
You sort of touched on it earlier, but it's like, I wish I'd started this 10 years ago when I was, just.
Yeah, me too. The returns, I mean, if I had started 15 years ago, it's still new. It's still in its infancy, really. But, 10, 15 years ago, the returns, you could pick up things doing like less than 12-month multiples. It's just, Yeah, still great deals out there. Like you said, it's very different to property and stocks and stuff like that. You mentioned that before we hit the record button. So yeah, tell us more about the business, Jeff. Like, what niche is it in? What type of business is it? Yeah, we'll start off with that.
So it's in the gaming niche, and it's a content site in the affiliate. It's cool because it's not actually one affiliate. It's not just Amazon. It's got good affiliate deals with 3 different online stores. And so it gives you a little bit of bargaining power. The sellers actually were able to negotiate a little bit higher commission with the online store because they were directing so much traffic and getting them so much business. So that was the one thing I really liked about it, was the sort of the diversified income stream in terms of affiliates, and just how it's a little bit more, I don't want to say mom and pop, but just smaller organizations than Amazon. So you actually have a little bit of bargaining power and leverage, which was awesome. And it was kind of interesting too, because it's not in a niche that I'm really interested in. Like, it's not what I do in my spare time. But based on what you were saying, like, you have to have an open mind. You can't just buy a site with material or information that you're passionate on. And it's worked out. And I've actually gotten interest in that niche now. I've sort of learned more about it and sort of,
It's funny that when I looked at the site, I was just looking at it just now, and I'm like, I didn't know that there was that in this niche and that and that and that. And we'll talk about that deeper off air. But I was just fascinated that I had just learned so much just by going to the page. Now, I want to reiterate the point that you mentioned that I had spoken about earlier, is like, you don't have to just go into a niche that you're super passionate about. You need to be open-minded. And the reason I say this is because I know the exact reason of why it's good to be open-minded with this, because you can get passionate about not just the industry that you buy into, but about the space. So for example, like you said, you got hooked on watching Ahrefs videos and just learning like heaps of awesome content because you're passionate about this space now. And that's more important than the niche, I feel, because if you become passionate about the space and you keep learning things from Ahrefs and digital marketing and SEO, then it doesn't matter what niche. This is an evergreen education that you can use on multiple businesses rather than just an education on that niche that you do get into on your first buy or your second buy.
100%. I agree. And what I've sort of realized is, in the end, and deep down, I think we're passionate about making money. That's why we do this. And that's where the passion lies, really. So, and gaining some cool skills to do that is great. And I think the other thing too, on my days off from work, I want to be out saltwater fishing. That's my passion. And mixing the two, if I'm always writing about it or blogging about it or managing content about it, it may ruin it, So it's kind of nice almost to have that separation.
Yeah, I thought about starting a business. The thing that I'm most passionate about, like, you love fishing, I love surfing. I feel like if I was too heavy into that, then it could really sort of like, how a sportsman can play too much sport and they can get over the game and over the niche. That's what I feel that I don't want to do. I want to keep that passion alive, and keeping it separate's good, like you said. So how much was the business you bought, and how much is it making roughly per month?
So that was the thing. I initially came in, I had about 50,000 US cash sitting ready to spend. And this one came up, it was listed at 86,000. So obviously way more than I'd planned on spending. So it was listed at 86. I sort of looked at it, went over it with you, loved it. It seemed like there was good value there. So I just sort of said, screw it. I'm going to pull some equity out of one of my rental properties. Offered them 72 initially. They had an offer for 70 that they refused. Offered 72, they didn't take it. Got up to 76, agreed on 76, and I asked for an earnout of $6,000, and they took it. So they took 72 up front, six over 4 months, so a total sale price of 78,000. And I think I walked away happy. I think it was a decent deal, and they got what they wanted out of it, the seller. So
yeah, this is so good, because I think some people are really focused on, like, as a buyer, I need to get what I want. But if that buyer only gets what they want, then the deal doesn't happen, because the seller still needs to be happy as well. Otherwise, they're not going to sell it in the first place. And you went to them and they sort of left it for a little bit, and then they ended up coming back to you. I think from our communication that you said, oh, this site's possible buy now, because they came back with the offer.
Exactly. Right? They told the broker that they wouldn't take a cent below 80. And so I sort of walked away and let it hang. The broker said, well, hey, maybe we can do it as an earnout. And I said, perfect, let's work with them on that. So he kind of got creative. He was really open-minded and willing to just work at making it work. And so we settled on 76, and they came back. Pretty solid. It earns $2,400 a month US. So
yeah, that's great.
So that's getting to within the ballpark of where I can get out of the rat race.
That's the goal, right? And I guess that's earning a bit more money than your property.
It definitely is. And that's the amazing thing about these businesses. The time you pay your mortgage, tax, insurance, there's just no cash flow. Whereas the content space, I mean, like monthly expenses are so cheap,
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's all cash flow.
So your monthly expenses would only be really hosting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
So
that's almost it at the moment, hosting and domain name.
It is, exactly. Yeah. So it's literally $40 a month for hosting. And then the sellers were spending about $400 a month on content creation. That was over the life of the business. That wasn't like a fixed monthly expense. So yeah, I mean, if I don't want to add content and just want to sort of keep it where it is, it's literally, $40 a month expenses. So
it's really cool. Really cool. And I've got a little trick that I can teach you on how to get some content writers for free, good content writers for free. We'll talk about that off air. Cool. So you joined 6 months ago, roughly, as recording this, and you bought your first business, making $2,400 a month. It must feel really, really good. What out of the whole process was your favorite thing that you learnt? And also, what was your favorite part about being a part of the community? What did you take out most of being a part of the community?
The number one thing about the community is just the sort of the people I've met. It's dorky, but making online friends. It's been cool. Oh, yeah. And we do an accountability call once a week on Sundays. And it's people from all over the world that there's no way I would have met without you and your group. So that's been really cool. And it's just one of the guys in the accountability group pulled the trigger before me, and he was, I was just super generous with his information. He showed me, we went on a Zoom call, he did a screen share of the affiliate account so I could see money coming into his account. And that was sort of when the light bulb went on. I'm like, this is real. Like, you really can make money doing this. And so had I not had the community, there's no way that would have happened. So fantastic. And the number one thing I've learned, I think, just that you can everything is figure outable. Like, I had no clue about what Ahrefs even was. And you can go and just you put the time in. There's enough tutorials and enough online content. You can figure this stuff out. And like I say, clueless. Went from pretty much zero knowledge in this space to having a decent grasp on things. Now, I mean, I still have tons to learn. There's no question. You can learn it, put the time in.
Yeah, me too. I've still got so much to learn. Always a student. And I can just feel your excitement. Like, you've got the bug, like, hard. And it's good because onwards and upwards from here.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the plan. For sure.
Yeah. Well, congrats, Jeff. Thanks so much for jumping on. So inspiring to see what you've done within 6 months. I look forward to us having a chat in another 6 months and also another 6 years to see where you're at. So congrats.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, that's it for today's episode, guys. I hope you got a bunch of notes on what you should be thinking about and understanding and knowing what you need to do on your process to buying your first website business. If you know somebody who is thinking about starting to try and make some money online, either replace their income, and may have not even thought about buying a website business or have thought about buying a website business but don't know too much about it, make sure you do them a massive favor and share this podcast episode with them. That would be a great help to not only us as a podcast and trying to reach out and help more people, but also to those people who are looking to try and make some money online as well. That's it, guys. I'll see you on the next episode.